All right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Life Show podcast. My name is Tyrone Brown Jr. And guess what? Tonight is another wild and crazy interview. Well, I don't know about wild and crazy, but we still have a really, really good interview. And I hope that you guys are along for this trip tonight. Before we get to our guests, I just want to say thank you to all of our followers, those that continue to, uphold the integrity of the Life Show podcast. I am so excited to announce that we are almost to the 2,000 follower mark. And so if you can, please share this. Please send invites to Like the Life Show because we continue to build. As you all know, we started 2 years ago, July 8th of 2020, in the heart of the pandemic. And now here we stand. We started from scratch, and now we are almost to the 2,000 follower mark. And that is a great feat. For those of you that join us on Facebook, on YouTube, even on Twitter. Also, for those of you that continue to follow us on our website, which is www.thelifeshowpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your continued support. It definitely means a lot. And so, without further ado, look, ladies and gentlemen, our guest is here and waiting, as you can see, to my right. And I'm so excited to have you. Look, we are excited to welcome Miss Laura Ann Heaton Gray, a young lady that is a staple in the industry and doing so much more. She is a author. She is a director. She is a actor. Look, I lose track of everything that this young lady does, but I'm so excited to have you on. How are you, Laura?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Definitely, definitely. Well, just give us a little bit of your background, your history, where you come from, and we can start there and move this train all the way forward.
All right, let's get it out of the station.
Good, good.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm Laura Ann Heaton Gray. You can call me LA Gray or LA. So many different people call me so many different things because they're like, you have four
Yeah.
names. I'm like, well, I mean, professionally, yes, but you can call me LA if that's,
Yeah.
you can get any shorter than that. Um, so I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Um,
Nice.
I my dad saw early on that I was interested in the arts, and so I got into ballet. I was a dancer with the Georgia Ballet and ended up being
Wow.
a professional company dancer for the Georgia Ballet. I got acting training at Alliance Theater in Atlanta. I took acting classes there, um, voice classes. I was in several different like community choirs, even as a kid and teenager, and did like private vocal coaching, piano coaching, whole nine yards. If it was involved in the arts, then I was doing it. I was pretty busy after school every single day at a different class, at a different art form. Um, and so I had a really fortunate growing up that I was able to be
Yeah.
able to, get into those kinds of things and just really discover what my talents were and what I really enjoyed and all of that. Um, and then from there, like there's a lot to my story that is in between that and, you know, where I got to today, but very briefly, I ended up auditioning for a Broadway show, Beauty and the Beast. I made that show as a dancer and a vocalist. And
Nice.
then that led to an introduction into film several years later, many years later. And I absolutely fell in love with film. I worked with Lifetime, ABC, AMC, and working for them for talent. I just fell in love with filmmaking. And I know that, I was on set and God just kind of like tapped me on the shoulder and he was like, this is what I want you to do. But I want you to do it a little bit different direction than what you're doing right now. And I want you to use your life stories to tell stories of hope and encouragement to people and to bring the gospel to people through inspiration of your own life stories. And I then started studying, how do I screenwrite? How do I write these stories? I started studying, storytelling. I had always
Yeah,
been somebody who was writing stories, but they're like in a little book. I didn't think they would ever go anywhere. It was kind of like my
yeah,
therapy or whatever to write short
sure.
stories. And so I just, I found some mentors on how to effectively write screenplays. And then once I had a few screenplays, I approached those same people and I was like, okay, so how do I get these produced? And they're like, well, if you don't have a lot of money, then you can produce them yourself. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know how to do that. And so I found a few other mentors in the industry, and I was like, can you, kind of mentor me and help me understand the process of actually
yeah.
producing a work of art. And so then I just started studying how to produce, how to direct, and I started my first project within that year. And ever since
Wow.
then, I've been able to fairly quickly um, you know, win awards and get recognition
Yeah,
and all of that.
yeah.
Just last in 2020 and 2021, I was nominated as Filmmaker of the Year with the International Christian Film Festival. And so, yeah, it's been a crazy journey. There's, tons of information that's in between here and there, but that's kind of the gist of where we are.
Nice, nice, nice. You talked just a little bit about that you went and found some mentors. How vital were they in you moving ahead as far as what you were directed to do?
Oh, having a mentor was so important. I would have
Yeah,
no idea where I was heading at that point if I didn't have people that I could reach out to and be like, hey, I'm unsure about how I go about this process for this particular thing. And the film industry really is all about building relationships with people, because if you are building relationships with people, networking with them without necessarily trying to get something out of them, then there's going to be a trust that's built there.
yeah,
And people are willing to, help you whenever you need it. And so, yeah,
yeah.
mentors, relationships are number one and number two when you are trying to be successful in this industry.
Wow. Again, look, ladies and gentlemen, we are here, the Life Show podcast, and we are interviewing. Well, I'm going to start calling her LA Gray. Okay. And so LA has come on to our platform to tell her story, how she got into directing and film and stuff like that. And so I hope that you guys are listening, and I hope that you share this with others that are in your immediate circle, because you never know who will need even LA as a mentor. And here it is. She is, a Christian, writer. She has received awards as far as a Christian writer. I'm so glad that you said that, because most people, even if they are believers, they won't announce it to the world, because with that it comes a stigma of I don't believe in religion, but here it is. You have announced, of course, that you're a Christian writer. You talked a little bit about God, that God directed you into this to this area. I want to get even a little bit more in depth as to what that experience was like, as far as where you were headed versus where God said, I need you over here. I want to get into that a little bit because I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, so I was thinking that, my whole life I was thinking, from a very young age that, I would either be a famous singer, doing
Right.
like contemporary Christian music.
Yeah.
Film never really was even on my radar because it seemed like this, like, so far-fetched idea that, there's no way that I could ever get in, movies or anything like that. And so,
Right.
um, I always felt like music was where I was going because I was gifted in that very early on. Once I became a Christian, I believe that my gift for music was actually part of my, spiritual gifts. And,
Yeah.
music, of course, is not a spiritual gift, but I believe that was, kind of part of the package that God gave me.
Sure.
Whenever I became a Christian, because I really had no interest in music at that point. And, I was going all over being asked to come to churches and sing. I always got the lead in all the church plays and the school plays and all of that kind of stuff. Um, as far as like musicals. And so, I really felt like that was the direction that I was going. And then
Okay.
I ended up doing more acting and dancing. And then, dancing kind of fell off as I no longer had the body of a dancer. You got to have like a certain physique and all of that. And I always struggled anyway because I have kind of an arched back, and I would always get that little tap on my back, like tuck your bottom and all of that. And I'm like, I literally can't. I'm so sorry. It's just the way I'm made.
God.
And once I got a little bit older, my body matured and all of that, dance kind of fell off. But yeah, I always thought that I was going to end up in music until the opportunity came to work on a Lifetime pilot. And at that point, I just fell in love with acting for film. And so I was trying to take
Yeah.
every opportunity that I could to get on camera, even if it was a background actor. I wanted to be there on set, on camera, in, dreams of being noticed by someone. And that ended up happening. I was a background actor. And I sent something to another show on ABC that, just kind of had like some clips of some things that I did because I was a featured background. And that's kind of how things got jump started from there, of me actually getting speaking roles. Um, but I was at a time in my life where this all was new because I had, at this point, went to college, got married, started a family very early in our marriage, had 3 kids. And so I was like, okay, so this is like a whole new chapter for me. And, a new dream that's been birthed within me. But it wasn't until I got that call, on my life, sitting there on set, that said, yeah, this is great, this is what you're going to do, but not quite
Yeah.
that direction. I'm still doing some acting and all of that, which I love doing whenever I get the opportunity, but it's not what I'm called to do. I'm called to take
Nice.
my life experiences, the tragedies, the, things that nearly broke me, the experiences that I had, that had deep meaning behind them. And I've never written a film or script that directly mimicked my life, although I've started several times. um, and it's just so hard because there's so much to my story that it
Yeah.
would take, a complete novel to try to fit it all in. And then I tried to write a script that was a movie that was my life. And there's just no way to fit all of that into 90 to 120 minutes. And so then I just kind of realized, really what needs to happen is, in order to actually tell my story, I'm going to need to do like a limited series or something like that, where there's like a whole season and we know it's just one season
Oh,
type thing. And so, in the back of my mind, I've slowly been writing that and trying to figure out how to formulate that and everything. But what I do in the meantime is I'm taking just certain circumstances that have happened in my life, and then writing a story that revolves around that circumstance that may not mimic my actual life or anything, but it uses different key points in my life in order to tell those stories and to bring hope to people and encouragement, and let them know that no matter what you've done in your life, no matter what's been done to you in your life, the decisions that you've made, there is hope, there is redemption, there is forgiveness. Most importantly, with a lot of things, you've got to forgive yourself before you can
yep.
seek forgiveness from other people. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different messages there, that are still to be had and still to be told.
This is very, very interesting. And we're seeing people pop up on the show, and they're starting to comment about your story. And here it is. There are various, as you say, various, parts to your life that lead down winding turns. But now, ending up where you are now, um, here it is. There was an injection of God's will for your life, and you answered the call. I'm a firm believer in that. A lot of times, what people will do is they'll say, "Well, God, I love God," and here it is. At the end of the day, when you ask them, did God give them any instructions? They'll be like, well, I didn't hear anything. Well, how do you love someone that does not communicate with you? You know what I'm saying? So, and that's a major key, especially with you. I want to get into especially the author part. Um, do you have any books that are out? Any short stories or anything that you're working on right now as far as your ability to write, as far as a book?
Well, I primarily am a script writer. I am working on a few different works. My life story, like I kind of talked about a little bit, I've started that multiple times. That's, probably going to be one of those things that I'm just going to be working on for a really long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I do have another short novel that I'm working on. At first, I started it as a entry into a contest. It was kind of like a timed contest where you kind of get a topic or a theme, and then you have like 90 days to write, this short novel, to submit it. And I never finished it because I ended up getting sick in 2020, and I had several different surgeries and health issues. And so I've started working on that again. Um, and then there's a script that I wrote recently called The Narrative, which is a short film, but I'm now going to start writing the actual novel for that because it's a really cool story.
Nice, nice, nice. And so, again, look, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Life Show Podcast, right here on the Life Show Podcast Network. We're doing a interview with our special guest, L.A. Gray, and you know, I'm, I'm really moved by your story. Here it is. You grew up in Atlanta, and here it is. I can hear the raising in your tone, in your conversation, because you said that your dad exposed you to everything in the arts as a child to see exactly which direction you wanted to go. And here it was, if he hadn't have exposed you to things in the arts, who knows what you would have picked up on. And now to be at this place in time in your life, and currently, correct, you're married with children.
I am. I have three kids, 18, 16, and 12.
Wow, really? Well, I'm right with you. I have four. I have 29, 22, 16, and 7. So,
Wow.
my thing is that I'm really excited to hear other people's stories of how they have come through, how they have overcome. Can you tell us about at least one thing that you had to overcome in your life to where it turned your attention, whether good or bad, and what it turned your attention to?
So I learned when I was 8 years old that I was actually adopted. My mother had already left the scene by the time I was 6, and she was living in Alabama. We were still living in Atlanta, and she told me pretty much out of spite because my father did not want me to know that I was adopted, and no one would ever guess that I'm adopted because I literally look like the family. I look like
Wow.
dad. And there were a lot of stories that revolved around that adoption that were very disturbing, very heartbreaking to learn about myself as an 8-year-old. And I've since learned a whole lot more stuff from that at 8 years old, learning some of those stories, it I don't even know why, but it caused like major trauma in my life. It's crazy to say as an 8-year-old you have an identity crisis, but I had an identity crisis. I felt abandoned. I had a dad who deeply loved me, but at the same time you wonder, what was it about me that
Yeah.
made my mother give me away? Because I was 2. I
Yeah.
wasn't a brand new baby. I learned that I had siblings that she kept, but I was given away. I was the fourth child born to her, and she was
Okay.
18 when she had me. And so, as a 8-year-old, it just really traumatized me because I was like, what about me wasn't good enough that she would want to
Yeah.
keep me?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of jump started a lot of my self-esteem issues at an early age, because I was very confident, and um, it it was just really hard. Um,
Yeah.
and then later in life, when I was about 29, I guess, um, she actually kind of popped up in my life. One of my
Mhm.
cousins went to school with my biological mother,
Got
um,
it.
or went to school with my biological brothers, I should say.
Okay.
Um,
Got
and so they kind of knew each other, and my older brother Shane, um, messaged her and was like, will you please give us some information about her, who she is, where she is, if she's okay, all of those kinds of things. And so she sent him my Facebook page, and he reached out to me. And when he reached out to me, my computer had not been working for a long time, like for like 6 months. And I took it finally to a computer store to get it fixed. And I pull in my driveway and go inside, and I immediately sit down and open up the computer and open Facebook that I haven't had for 6 months. And there's a message from him saying, hey, I think you're my sister, all of these kind of things. And he, of course, gave her the information, and she messaged me. She asked to meet me. She wanted to be in my life again. And, I was kind of on the fence with all of that kind of stuff because I had heard such horror stories about everything that revolved around that and who she really was and the things that she had done to me, the things that she had allowed to be done to me by people. And I didn't know what to do, but, I had lived my whole life wanting to know, who is this person? I had so many questions that I wanted answered. And so I agreed to meet with her. And she was living, off in Seattle. And so she flew back to Alabama, and we hung out, several times. I thought that things were going pretty good. But, I had questions, and I wanted to know, certain things that I had heard that, are they true? Are they not true? Why did this happen? Why did this not happen? Different stuff like that. And she wanted no part of that. She was like, I don't want to talk about any of that. I just want to build a relationship with you, and I don't want to talk about the past. And I'm like, I've lived my whole life wanting to know who I am. And it's important to me to know what my own story is, because I was too young to know what that story is. And I think that I deserve to know, what is true. And she didn't like that and pretty much walked out of my life again, blocked me on everything. I had at this point talked with my biological brothers a few times, and they were just so happy to finally find me. They had wanted to know what happened to me, their entire lives. And when this happened, they were all grown men, but she forbade them from having any contact with me anymore. And so this family that I had been wondering about and searching for my entire life, all of a sudden walked into it again and left again. And no one fought to be in my life. They didn't, and so again, here comes the self-esteem issues. I wasn't who any of them wanted to be. I wasn't, just this person who was going to forget about everything. I wanted to know my own past, and they were completely fine with walking out of my life again. And I at that point, I think that I was nearing like a complete nervous breakdown, because I felt completely betrayed and abandoned, and
Rejected.
rejected. And it was very heartbreaking to have to go through that. And it took a really long time to really discover the pain that was in me. I ended up in 2018 going to this program. It's kind of like a group therapy, but it's like interactive, like you're working with other people. It's like a 4-day camp where you kind of discover the things that you need to let go of in your life in order to be who you're intended to be. And it was there that I realized all the pain and the shame and everything that I was still holding on to, that I didn't even realize I was still holding on to, that was causing me to make the different decisions that I had made in my life. The people that I had hurt, I ended up being a runaway as a teenager, into like abusive relationships, and it all of a sudden made sense. The reason why I made the decisions that I did was because I was hurting, and I didn't even know that I was hurting. And it was at that time that I was able to, finally just release all of it and give it over to God and say, I don't want all of this hurt. I want you to please, just take it away from me and help me to have it all resolved, because it's in the past. It's not something that affects me today, but I'm allowing it to affect me today and hold me back in so many different areas of my life. And so that's one major point in my life that was very hard to deal with the
Yeah.
biological side of things. And, at the end of the day, everything, no matter what it is, whatever trial it is, whatever heartbreak it is, it all comes down to being able to just hand that over to God and say, take this
Yeah.
from me, no matter what it
Yeah.
is. And
Yeah.
that's, what I've had to do my entire life, because I'm not able to handle it by myself. And so the only way that many of us can handle the things that we go through is to just hand it over.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that with us. Knowing the audience that is out here and that is listening to your story, not just on Facebook, but on YouTube, on Twitter, as well as our website. It is definitely an honor to have someone to be open, because in this day and time, people hide behind their issues. I have 1,000,001 issues, but the thing is that I will not allow them to stop me from reaching the plateau that God has for me. And I often talk about different things and principles and things that I've used along the way. And I'm still working it as well as I hear that you are, which is fantastic, because that was meant to destroy you at an early age.
Right.
That was meant to really tear you apart. But what was meant for evil, God, He turned it around for your good. And so, thank you so much for sharing that. Again, look, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Life Show Podcast on the Life Show Podcast Network. And I want you to understand that a lot of times we're going to have interviews on our station that is unlike any other. We believe in getting the backstory, because if you know our podcast, life is really, it's the opposite of death. But what we have in life is four core principles. That is leadership, integrity, faith, and empowerment. And so that's what we believe in on this program, on this station, in our network. Leadership, integrity, faith, and empowerment. And so tonight, who we have a part of our platform tonight is L.A. Gray, and such a phenomenal story, from her raising in Atlanta to not knowing that she was adopted. Um, and then, here it is growing through that. And then as she gets older, then her biological mother comes back into her life and then exits because she did not want to discuss the questions that LA had. And now she's had to overcome that hurdle of being rejected. She's had to overcome the hurdle of low self-esteem, of all of those things that tend to bother you when you're rejected by your own family, let alone your parent. But such a phenomenal person. I want to get into the writing part of it, because you are, not the writing, but the movies. You are a writer, a script writer for movies. Tell us about some of the movies that you have that are already out there.
Okay. So, I've done a lot of script writing for both short films and feature films. So far, we've been able to film several of the short films. Um, we have like Solitary Confinement, which is not faith based, but it is a really good, impelling story about a, futuristic circumstances where we live in a world where, crime, there's like, what is the word? The smallest little thing that you do, it doesn't matter what it is, you're still going to have some kind of capital punishment for stealing a
Sure.
candy bar from a store. And so if you do something bad, then you go for judgment. And in this circumstance, this person was kind of framed in stealing some government information about, diseases, and, that the government actually has all the cures for every known disease on the planet, but they choose to withhold that information in order to keep the population down and let people die. And so you're sent to like this virtual world to live in solitary by yourself. And a girl who works at the facility as a nurse gets really interested in this guy who's sent to this other virtual world, and they plan an escape. How do they take off their tracking devices so that they can jump to another reality type thing. And so that's a really fun story that I was able to write and film that. I have several different films. We just finished one called The Narrative. We're still in post-production for that. We just finished filming last weekend. We actually have one more scene that we have to film for that, but it only requires one of the talent to be there. But principal photography for that we've finished. And it's funny because there's a serial killer who, well, he's not really a serial killer, but she thinks he is. He ends up kind of drugging this girl and taking her back and tying her up in the basement just to see what happens. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He has no idea. He's kind of dumb and is just, trying out this thing to see what kind of kicks he can get off of it, right? But he picked the wrong girl. And she ends up turning around the whole situation and ends up being the manipulative one that's able to manipulate her way out of the situation. Faith-based wise, we have finished The Father's Grace, was actually just was shown out in Uganda. I'm going to Uganda in November on a mission trip, which is film related. And so I sent several films to them, and they just shown this at one of their movie nights in Uganda. They go around to the different villages and they, show movies that have messages that share the gospel. And so this one is about a young girl who is a runaway, and her father is chasing after her. He's, all over town. He has flyers. He's putting them up everywhere. He's asking everyone he meets, have you seen my daughter? He's looking for her. And, there's literally scenes where he's running. And so, all of that is, mimicking God running after us constantly when we are running away from him and the plans that he has for us in our life. And so she ends up at a church where there was a poster that was put up outside the church, and she just kind of came in to get out of the heat and everything. And the pastor recognizes her and, convinces her that, in using symmetry with how God's relationship is with us, that her father loves her unconditionally and just wants to be in her life and help her. And so there's a whole reunion with that, and it's a fun way of telling that story. There are several other that are way bigger than that as far as features that are in development right now. We have a musical that's called Surrounded, and think the TV show Glee and High School Musical got together and had a baby. and put the
Nice.
Bible in that, and you've got a Christian musical set in high school. We're writing a whole like Bible study to go along with that, so that we can get the film to churches along with the companion Bible study, so that they can youth groups can study it together.
That is so
That's going to
awesome.
be absolutely huge. We also
Yeah.
have another film, Stalling Seasons with String, that is in development. We have a teaser that we've created for that one, which everybody who sees it is like, oh my goodness, this is an amazing story. I can't wait for this to be filmed and I can see it. And I'm like,
Right.
me
Right.
too. um, and so, yeah, there's a lot going on there.
That is awesome. Again, look, ladies and gentlemen, you are viewing the Life Show Podcast on the Life Show Podcast Network, and we are interviewing L.A. Gray. She told us about her story and went all the way through from her childhood raising in Atlanta to finding out that she was adopted to once she got older, of course, her mother, she met back up with her mother through her brothers, and here it is, was rejected again. But before that, her father had put her into the arts and really caught her eye in all of the arts and dancing and singing and as well as she was called to playwright. She was called to write not just playwright, but movie scripts. And so she has won several awards for the Christian Writing Association, for ABC, and here it is. This young lady, she's not done yet. She's not done yet. So, what advice could you give a person that is looking to get into doing what you do? What advice could you give out to?
Well, I think, especially for the faith-based film industry, you need to be called into it.
Yeah,
There are a lot of people who work in the faith-based industry who get into it because they're, just seeking to do something to share, the gospel. But there's also those people that, I've met that are out to, well, this is a small industry. If I can get into the faith-based industry and make my name in this industry, then I can move on, to do bigger and better things. And so they have ulterior motives there. Um, and so, faith-based industry, definitely, it has to be something that you're called to do, and you won't be successful if you're not. Um, Film industry in general, just do your research. Whether
yeah,
you're looking to get into crew, you know, find ways of getting on set, even if it's as a production assistant. A lot of people get
sure,
involved in the film industry by being a production assistant. Now, a production assistant is somebody who's kind of running errands and setting up things and helping, things on set, but you get that introduction and you get to
yeah,
watch everything
yeah,
that's happening, and you can
yeah,
discover for yourself. I really like the guys who are setting up the lights. I think I could be good at that. And then reach
yeah,
out to those people who do that and be like, hey, I really want to learn this. And find people who will
yeah.
be willing for you to come on and learn that. You may not be paid right away, but you can get on set, independent projects, and get that experience to learn. There's also, almost every city has, a film hub of sorts where people are coming in to learn filmmaking. Here at
Sure.
Excelsior Studios, we have Huntsville indie filmmakers, and we bring in people who want to learn the industry. It doesn't cost anything at all. You come in and we teach you, all the different elements of film and give you that experience so that you can learn what you actually want to do in the industry and give you the tools that you need
Wow.
in order to go then find actual jobs doing that. If you want to be talent, that's a whole different ball game. And there's so much involved in that. Before you even seek an agent, you've got to have your industry standard headshots. You've got to have a reel. You need training. There are people who think that they can just walk straight into acting with no training. And I'm not just talking about acting training, but, the etiquette about things and the process and the industry standard that people get on set, and everything goes awry because you have people who don't know how to even carry themselves on a film set. And so, you need to find someone who can mentor you. We're back to that whole mentor thing. Who can help guide you, whether it's, a film school, an acting school, or a person who's in the industry who can help, show you the different steps that you need to take. And that's, we at Excelsior, we help cultivate those people because we want to help other people achieve their dreams. So we have acting classes that, you can go through a 6-week or a 12-week program where we give you the tools that you need to help you get your actor's access, help you get your headshots, your actor's reel, help you, figure out the agents that would be best for you, and all of that kind of stuff. And the same thing with the crew side of stuff. And so try to find something near you that's like that. Excelsior also does that virtually as far as acting is concerned. It would be hard to teach you about a lot of crew stuff virtually, but we do virtual acting classes as well. And so, whether it's that or somewhere near you that's in person, if you're interested in getting into that, really find someone or an organization that can help you do that, because it's really hard to figure out by yourself.
Nice. You are not you have, you are a resource guru. Just by your talk, I've talked to so many, I've talked to thousands, maybe into the hundreds of thousands of people. And I know when people have insight, you definitely have insight. And you spoke about Excelsior. Can you speak a little bit more about that, and then give contact information about how people can get in contact with Excelsior?
Okay, so Excelsior Studios has 2 different sides. We have our commercial advertising and marketing and social media management side, where we're looking at your business and how we can best tell the story of your business through those different elements for commercial corporate work. And then we also have our film side, which, like I said, we do film production, we hold classes, we do coaching, all of that kind of stuff. And then we also, shoot films. We have, several different people who like to write. We have, camera people, grips. We have developed a lot of different talent that's in the area that we use on a regular basis. And also we help people who are here find work other places. And so we do a lot of that kind of stuff, well-rounded within the film industry. If it involves film or a camera, even photography, then we do it. So we, like I said, we're Excelsior Studios. We're in Huntsville, Alabama. We do travel for commercial work. So if your business, we love working with Christian-owned businesses. We have discounts for those as well, where we'll come to your city and produce your commercial work for you. We can, do it remotely as well. If the need is there, and maybe you don't have a large budget for what you want to do, then we can do a lot of stuff here without having those costs. So we love working with people. As far as contacting Excelsior, I'll tell you that my Facebook was hacked, and I have lost access to all of my business accounts on Facebook. I've contacted Facebook multiple times, and there's just nothing I can do. They don't return any messages, emails, and all of that kind of stuff. So you really have no way of contacting me through Excelsior right now until I can figure all of that out. But
Okay.
I do have a Facebook page. It's Laura Ann Heaton Gray. I have a TikTok, which is Musically Laura Ann. My website is my full name, lauraannheatongray.com, and I have contact information on there. It has my bio, some of the things that I can do for you guys, and you can contact me directly through there.
Definitely. Well, again, look, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a awesome interview. Laura, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story on our platform. I am so utterly grateful. And look, this don't have to be the last time. It doesn't have to be the last time. Anything that you need, if I have access to it, you do as well. There are some things that are getting ready to take off for us, which we've spoken of before here on the Life Show podcast, and I'm really excited about it. And so I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you and seeing how we can best, bring this thing to full circle. But thank you so much for your time. Any last closing words? Any thank yous to anyone that you would like to express at this time?
Oh my goodness. Other than, of course, the Lord for giving me this life, and being able to do what I do because I absolutely love it. You have to love it, just stay in it. But just, for, the path that has been made for me. I'd love to thank Laura May with Christian Casting. She's opened a lot of doors for me. And she's the reason why I'm going to, well, she's not the reason why, but through connections, through Christian Casting, is the reason why I'm going through Uganda and this amazing experience that I'm going to get to go there to teach filmmaking so that they can make films in their native language to share the gospel. My husband, who puts up with me always being on the go and having to play Mr. Mom. He introduces himself as Mrs. Laura Ann or Mr. Laura Ann. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. Again, look, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your time and for coming in, joining with us. Listen, can I ask you guys one favor? Look, just share this as many times as possible. Um, you know, even if it's one or two, three or four, five or six, however many times you have, look, just share it, share it, share it, share it, because somebody needs to hear this story so that they can know that they can overcome as well. This is the Life Show. Y'all know who I am. I'm Tyrone Brown Jr. I'm getting ready to get out of here. Look, y'all have a great evening. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Don't get in no trouble. Until next time, God keep you. God bless you. It's always our prayer. Peace.